Hi, this is Tanya from My Fancy Design Shop, and today I'm going to show you how I use my Enchanted Watercolor Brush set in Procreate. This set is actually based upon my original watercolor brush, so you will see the water stains, the texture, and the dark edges built into it. The main difference is now it will automatically change colors as you letter. So depending on the pressure that you put on your Apple Pencil or stylus, it depends how much of a color variation you're going to get. So typically, the lightest pressure that you apply will be the color that you choose on your color wheel. And then the more pressure you apply, it's going to change colors. So let's get started. I already applied my watercolor paper texture. I set the setting to multiply and I bumped down the opacity to 70%. And I'm going to add a lettering layer below it. And I'm going to open up my color palette. I'm going to choose the first color, which is purple, grab my Enchanted brush, and I'm going to show you the difference between the two. So right now I'm just going to letter the word purple. And as you can see, the lighter strokes is my existing color that I have chosen. And the more pressure I add, the colors change. So I have a darker pink, light pink, and then eventually I get to the orange. Now, if I change it to the Enchanted 2.0 brush, you will see that the colors change the opposite way on the color wheel. So I still have that purple light stroke, but now the color is going to turn more of like, we have a green, turquoise, dark blue, light blue. That's because if you open up your color wheel, the Enchanted brush is going to change colors going counterclockwise on the color wheel. The Enchanted 2.0 brush is going to change colors going clockwise on the color wheel. So right here, since we chose purple, the Enchanted is turning more of the pink and reds, and the 2.0 brush is going more towards the cooler colors, blues and greens. Again, it's going to be the same thing no matter where you are on the color wheel. So even if you chose orange, I'll show you here, the Enchanted is going to go counterclockwise, so this way. So it's going to go more towards the yellow and green. Let's see, open it up. I'll just write high. Okay, so you have your orange, but then you see how it's going to yellow and green. Enchanted 2.0 is going to go clockwise, so it's going to go more towards the darker orange and the reds, and even some pinks. So there you go. Okay. Best thing to do is to play around with the two different brushes and the color palette. Also, my palette is just a stepping stone. So feel free to play around with any colors that you choose. And I think that's the best way, is a lot of trial and error with this set because there's so many possibilities. So with the different brushes, play around with the different colors and see what looks best to you, what you want for your design, what you're going for. It's just a lot of fun to play around with it too. I'm going to show you another trick. As you can see, let's grab this color here. Go back to my original Enchanted brush. When you letter, you're going to see some of the strokes overlap each other. So you see here, here, and here. If it's not noticeable, if it doesn't bug you, feel free to skip the step. This is optional. One way is to alpha lock the layer. You can hit Gaussian blur and it'll kind of hide it just a little bit. You can see it just a tiny bit, but the color won't be as strong. If you want it to totally disappear, the best thing to do is to work in layers. So each stroke is going to have its own little layer, especially when you know it's going to overlap. So we have here, I'm going to open up another layer here and another one here. Okay. What you're going to do is go back down to your layer, and you are going to use your eraser tool and just erase the areas that you see the overlapping stroke. Very easy, quick, and you get a very clean look. Now I know this is not going to mimic real watercolor because I know these colors will blend into each other. If you wanted more of that look, I would suggest my watercolor brush set, the original one, or even the shimmer. But with this, because it's just the brush that automatically changes color, we're just going to focus on the different colors. So what we're going to do is combine all the layers together. So it's easy. It's all one layer. And that's it. Even some areas I'm going to show here, you have the purple and the blue, so that's really blended. It's just each different stroke, you're not going to see the, I guess the watercolor bleeds, you'd say, into it. But this is kind of like a fun, easy brush just to focus on the texture of watercolor, the stains, and the different colors. If you wanted more realistic, then I would suggest my other sets. But again, play around with it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to use different colors, to play around with the color and saturation hue. So that's another thing. What you can do is open up the adjustments. So it's here. And you can actually play around. You see how it keeps the difference in the colors, but it just changes the hue, which I think is pretty awesome. So if you're lettering with a color and it's not really what you wanted, instead of starting all over, you can just play around with this and pick the color that you want. You can mess with the saturation. Typically when you bring it up too high, you're gonna lose the texture in the brush. So you kind of really want to see it, but it's just another way to change up the color without having to repeat all of the other steps. Again, just play around with it, have fun, see what works for you. And if you have any questions, please let me know. You can message me on Instagram or here on YouTube or on Etsy. And yeah, I would love to see your designs. So if you're on Instagram, definitely tag me at My Fancy Design Shop. And thanks again.